Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just finished watching Hubie Halloween, directed by Steve Brill and starring Adam Sandler, Kevin James, and Kenan Thompson, Harry Liotta, and several others of the classic SNL crew in this new Halloween comedy for Netflix. I think ever since Uncut Gems that we've started to grow a little bit kinder towards Adam Sandler and his choice of films. Because before Adam Sandler essentially became the poster boy for everything critics hate about comedy, Sandler was legitimately liked within the community throughout the 90s and early 2000s. And I think Sandler, even nowadays, can still make a decent comedy every now and then. And while Hubie Halloween does feel like most Happy Madison films, in that it feels like it was written by two middle-aged men over a weekend, it still happens to ultimately have its heart in the right place, have some legitimately good laughs, and in a year where there's so little to enjoy and so little to laugh at, even a gross out comedy with lowbrow humor like this one can still manage to get a chuckle out of me. But let's get to the story, shall we? The story is that Hubie Dubois, played by Adam Sandler, is the local official volunteer in Salem, Massachusetts, where he's mocked and ridiculed by most of the town, with a select few exceptions. But when something happens in Halloween that causes several members of the community to go missing, Hubie is on the case to find out what happened to these people and save their lives, while finally possibly earning the respect of a town that has long considered him a massive joke. So this film happens to essentially have a lot of the Adam Sandler comedy staples. The down on his luck loser protagonist that everyone thinks will amount to nothing. Several SNL cast members playing supporting roles. There is a fair bit amount of gross out humor, which definitely feels like it's there for the younger members of the audience, which sometimes clashes with the foul language used by some of the other characters. Where it definitely does feel like a PG-13 comedy with humor that's below that age for people to fully appreciate. Sort of like Scary Stories in a sense. But I do think its message does have the heart in the right place, and that even when people are not being nice to you and essentially treating you as a massive joke, responding in kindness and in humor is definitely more effective over getting revenge. The message does get a little bit muddled towards the end, but I do think its heart is ultimately in the right place. And in comparison to a lot of Sandler films that try to go for a message, I do think this one handles it a lot better. And I do think a lot of the humor of the film comes mainly not from the actual lines being spoken, but by the actors portraying these characters. For example, Steve Buscemi plays Hubie's neighbor, Walter, Walter Lambert, and I do think Mr. Buscemi is pretty funny in the role. I just think Buscemi can. That's just the power of him and having a great actor in the movie. He can pull off any role that would normally embarrass an actor, and he manages to pull it off very well. Rob Schneider is in here, and I know a lot of people can't stand him in a lot of the films, but even when he has to do an extremely lowbrow joke like urination, he doesn't care. He'll pull it off and manage to somehow make some bits of it funny. It won't make you laugh every minute, but there are some chuckle-worthy gags sprinkled in with the ones that do feel groan-worthy. Plus, in comparison to a lot of Happy Madison films that have humor that's actually offensive in a lot of ways, this one relies on that far less, and there's no real points where the film's actually harmful. In fact, being a harmless comedy is definitely one of the biggest descriptors of this film. It may not make you laugh, it may not even be one of your favorite comedies this year, but it's definitely harmless in many ways. And, and even though I'll admit, even some of the cameos did catch me off guard, like Ben Stiller and Shaquille O'Neal. They did feel a little bit out of place, but I think some of the humor came from how out of place they seemed, and how they still managed to fulfill their parts relatively well. So it's definitely like having a Halloween party with friends that you haven't seen in a few years. It can be a little awkward and more than a little groan-worthy, but you're happy you went there regardless. And that's why I'm going to give Hubie Halloween a 6.5 out of 10. See you next time.